Good evening, you're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. Tonight, the Robert Vadra story back in the headlines after an IAS officer who ordered a probe into Vadra's land deals is suddenly transferred by the state government. Tonight, we're asking, is it time for a full-fledged probe into Robert Vadra's deals? Can Mr Vadra afford to stay silent any longer? Now, a bitter war of words has broken out tonight between the Haryana government and a senior IAS officer, Ashok Khemka, who was transferred from the Land Registration Department 3 days after asking for a probe into Robert Vadra's land deals. The Haryana government says Mr Khemka's transfer on the 11th of October was done in compliance with a High Court order and has nothing to do with Robert Vadra. Mr Khemka, however, says the state government is using the court order as an excuse, though I have to add that he's just told NDTV that he's not making a direct correlation between the probe that he has ordered against Mr Vadra's land deals and his transfer. He's saying that he has not said that explicitly. He spoke to NDTV a little while earlier.
My order of transfer was served upon me at 10 o'clock in the night on the 11th of October. This inquiry is not ordered to a subordinate. This inquiry was being conducted by me. I decided to complete this inquiry and pass an order before leaving charge instead of running away. I should not have run away because simply some big people were involved. I did my duty of completing the matter and passing a proper order. It is dated properly. It is not alleged that I predated it. I left charge on 15th at 4:30 p.m. I had represented to the Chief Secretary on the 12th that please consider my case. I am transferred prematurely.
Government is saying that as a special collector, you already asked for a transfer to demit the office. What do you have to say on that? The High Court has given an order.
Yes, as special collector, I represented to the Chief Secretary on the 1st of August. Please assign the work of special collector and land acquisition officer to an appropriate ranked officer. The government took no action. Then the Honorable High Court on the 1st of October passed an order telling the government, directing the government to pass an appropriate ranked officer on the post of collector. So it upheld my representation.
Well, this is a rather interesting and complicated story, and let's just take you through what the entire story is about. Now, 3 days after ordering an informal probe against Robert Vadra's land deals, Mr Khemka, a senior IAS officer in the Land Registration Department in Haryana, gets his transfer order. That's on the 11th of October. He says he got that transfer order late in the night at 10 o'clock. Khemka had asked for a probe into alleged undervaluation of some properties that were registered by Mr Vadra. This goes back entirely to February 2008 when Robert Vadra bought about 3.5 acres of land in Manesar for 7.5 crore rupees. The very next day, the Haryana government made sure that that land was mutated in his favour. This means that in government records, the land had been transferred to Mr Vadra, a process that for normally for people would take 3 to 6 months. So he gets that done within just 1 day. Then a month later, the Haryana government gives Mr Vadra a license that allows him to use most of this land, most of this 3.5 acres, to build a housing project. The license added so much commercial value to that land that 3 months after Mr Vadra had purchased it, DLF agrees to buy it from him for 58 crores. So in just a matter of 3 months, Robert Vadra essentially made a 50 crore rupee profit. Yesterday, on his last day in his post, Mr Khemka cancelled that land deal between Robert Vadra and DLF. Now, since then, there have been accusations and counter-accusations, particularly in the last couple of hours, between the Haryana government and Mr Khemka. As you saw there, let's just take a look at the key points where there are disagreements. Ashok Khemka, the IAS officer, says that Vadra's land mutation to DLF was by an unauthorized official. The Haryana government says that it is authorized, that it is Khemka who violated rules. The IAS officer says that the land was undervalued. Vadra bought it for 7.5 crores, sold it in 3 months for 58 crores. There must have been a loss to the government. The Haryana government says no, there was no loss to the state government. Ashok Khemka, the IAS officer, says the Haryana government renewed Robert Vadra's housing license after his sale to DLF. There has been no response from the Haryana government on that. Khemka says that he was transferred for being upright for exposing scams, though he does not mention anything about Robert Vadra. The Haryana government says there is no malice, that the transfer came after directions from the High Court. The Haryana government says that Khemka requested the court to relieve him as special collector. That is something he admits as well. He was holding 2 positions. He did not want to be special collector any longer, but he says, why did you transfer me out of the other position as well? So that is his rebuttal to that. Ashok Khemka says that He had ordered the district collectors to inspect all of Robert Vadra's documents from 2005 onwards. Now the Haryana government says that despite it saying that it has absolutely no doubts that everything was above board, it's ordering an inquiry led by an additional chief secretary, and that inquiry will be completed in a month. There are, however, a number of unanswered questions. Some of them are, how come that land that Robert Vadra got in Haryana originally was mutated or transferred to him in just one day, a process, as we said, that can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. That's the biggest question. Why did the Haryana government renew the housing license that was given to Vadra when the land by that time technically belonged to DLF? The Vadra's documents show that he bought these 3.5 acres for 15 crores. Mr Khemka, the IAS officer, says that the records show it was bought for 7.5 crores. All of this can be really muddling when you look at it like that, but I think that's why we're asking this question tonight. Is it time for a thorough inquiry into Robert Vadra's deals? And can he afford to stay silent any longer? We have Manish Tewari of the Congress Party, Lok Sabha MP, joining us tonight. Let me take this to Manish first. Manish, there has been this back and forth now between the IAS officer and the Haryana government tonight. Mr Khemka, while not making a direct correlation with his probe against Mr Vadra, is saying that it was unfair to transfer him out, and that the state government was using the High Court order as an excuse. And is it just a coincidence that 3 days after he asks for some files on Vadra's land deals, he is suddenly moved out?
It's extremely regrettable that what we've seen playing out since morning is perfidy, chicanery and grandstanding of the highest order. And allow me to explain the import of these three words. On the 1st of October 2012, this gentleman in question appears before the Honorable High Court in pursuance of a bailable warrant. Now, a bailable warrant is only issued by the High Court, which is incidentally recorded in the order, because you've disobeyed the directions of the High Court to appear earlier, giving him the benefit of doubt. Presumably, maybe the order was not conveyed to him, but be that as it may, he goes there and says that the reason why I'm not able to discharge my responsibility as a special collector, because my orders are appealable to officers who are junior to me. So the High Court upholds his plea and tells the Haryana government, or directs the Haryana government, that please appoint an officer at the earliest, who's not officiating, and let's not keep this matter pending. Subsequently, this gentleman, goes and orders an inquiry, or, orders some process on the 12th of October, which, if I am instructed properly, entails that before he passes a speaking order, he must give an opportunity to either side to be heard. And to the best of my knowledge, this basic principle of natural justice, that you hear people before passing an order, is blatantly violated by this gentleman. And then he goes and grandstands on television and says that the reason why I have been transferred is because, I had ordered a particular inquiry. Let's step back a little.
Manish,
a gentleman who's been ordered.
He's not saying that.
Let's step back a little. Allow me to complete.
Saying he is actually, he's not making that link.
That is the subtext.
It is.
That is the insinuation, and that is the subtext.
Because on the 8th
so
of
therefore
October,
a lot of things are.
Because he asked for files on Robert Vadra's deals on the 8th of October, he says. There was nothing on record, nothing that was placed in writing on the 8th of October, but he did ask the DCs to report back to him on these land deals. Then why is it that a transfer order to him for, there are two things here. One, he gets the transfer order 3 days later at 10 p.m., he says. Secondly, he said he wanted to be relieved only of one of those two positions. Why was he shunted out of both positions is the question.
Well, let me ask you a counter question, Nidhi. First of all, is a transfer a punishment? And the second question is it not the prerogative of the government, if it decides in its wisdom that they are going to implement a High Court order, they decide to do it in the manner in which they think is most appropriate? And let's step back a little. If there has been... Nidhi, have the patience to listen to the answer. We have the magnanimity of not interrupting you when you ask a question. I think you should accord us the same magnanimity, after inviting us as a guest on your show. So therefore, step back a little. 40 transfers in 21 years. Is it only about honesty? Is he the only honest officer in the government of Haryana? So therefore, there is a lot more, than what has been appearing in the public space since the morning. And since now an inquiry has been ordered, the inquiry will look de novo into all these facts and come to the appropriate conclusion.
Manish,
but before we jump the gun, before we shoot from the hip, I think it's better to err on the side of caution.
My only question is that isn't it a rather strange coincidence? Okay, I will take that question to Dushyant Dave because we lost the link to Manish Tewari. Dushyant Dave, don't you find it odd that 3 days after this informal inquiry is ordered that this would happen? Oh, it's back to Manish. Okay, Manish, I'm just asking you, people will draw a conclusion because 3 days after he asks for these files, he is transferred. He wants to be transferred from only one post, but he's transferred from both. That's the point that he is making as well. So you do understand why people would make that link.
May I very respectfully submit, Nidhi, that the order in question is passed by this gentleman on the 12th of October. Isn't it, indeed a bit of chicanery that after you are transferred out, you still go to your office and decide to pass an order, which if I'm instructed correctly, you do so without giving a chance to anybody to be heard, which is against the principles of natural justice. So therefore, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye, and these, coincidental connections which he's been trying to make through innuendo, are completely baseless and absurd.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.